in Kent. We've come to one of my favourite places in the world, Hever Castle. I've always had a fascination with Anne Boleyn. I actually did a dissertation many years ago, don't say anything, about Henry VIII and Thomas More. And in 1994 I visited Hever for the first time. This is well before digital photography, and I probably used, horror of all horrors, 36 exposures or pictures of the castle, where I've maybe today taken 100, 120.
As I said, I've always had a fascination for Anne Boleyn. She was the second wife of King Henry VIII and the woman who led him to break England away from the Catholic Church. This he wanted to do so that he could marry her and set aside his first wife, Catherine of Aragon. Hever Castle was one of the several homes of the Boleyn family, and it is the castle most associated with Anne's childhood. Before she reached the age of 12, she went to live in the Netherlands and France, and she lived in royal households. There, she learned French and she studied dance, literature and poetry. So by the time she returned to England in 1522, she was considered to be very accomplished. When Anne returned to the English court, King Henry VIII fell in love with her. He divorced his wife, Catherine of Aragon, and made Anne his new queen. To do this, he had to take England away from the Catholic Church because the Pope at that time refused to approve Henry's divorce from Catherine, and this is where the Church of England had its initial beginnings. Henry and Anne went on to have a daughter, Elizabeth, who ruled for 45 years and is considered to be one of the greatest monarchs in British history. A visit to Hever Castle's gardens is a definite must. They don't look anything like they would have in Anne and Henry's day, and instead, much of it has been replaced with Italianate-style gardens, so it looks a lot more like an Italian villa than it does an English castle. The day of our visit, they were also holding the annual Hever Triathlon, so it was a bit strange seeing swimmers, cyclists and runners running across the grounds where Henry and Anne once roamed. Only a few minutes away from Hever Castle is Chartwell. This was the home of Winston Churchill and his wife Clementine. Before his death, Churchill gave Chartwell to the National Trust on the understanding that his wife Clementine would be allowed to live there for the rest of her life. It is still maintained by the National Trust, and although we weren't able to go into the house, the gardens, again, like Hever, are definitely worth a visit. So, how did we end up in Derbyshire when we started off in Kent? And of course, the answer had to involve canals. I had an extra day booked off work, and we decided that since the day is really nice outside, we'd have a wander up to New Mills in Derbyshire.
So we're outside the Swizzles factory in New Mills, and I can smell Parma violets, my favourite sweet. Yeah, we're gonna keep going.
The timbers are used in the canal to cut the canal off so that it stops the water running down any further from that point if there's a breach.